All right. All praises to the Most High, Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah Barakatah, Kwam Yasharala. This is your brother Yashar. So I'm coming at y'all with a quick lesson called Ordinances, understanding Colossians 2:16. And so the reason why I'm doing this class is because there's a lot of people that take Colossians 2:16 way out of context. And not only do they take it out of context, but I feel they use it to justify their sin, right? And so now let's go over things, right? So what is sin, right? So what is sin? So sin is 1 John 3 and 4, which says, whosoever committeth sin transgresseth also the law, for sin is the transgression of the law. So when you look at Colossians 2:16, right? It says, Colossians 2:16, let no man therefore judge you in meat or in drink or in respect of any holy day or the new moon or the Sabbath days. So they use this to say, oh, I don't need to keep the high holy days, or I don't need to do the Sabbath, or I don't need to do new moons. Nobody could judge me in meat, which is totally off, because that's not even what that's talking about. But they use this to justify their sins, which is transgression of the law. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this, and hopefully I could give you some type of understanding. This is Luke 24, verse 45. Then opened he their understanding that they might understand the scriptures. So today I'm going to hopefully open your understanding so that you can understand the scriptures. Okay. Okay, cool. So let's look at Colossians, and let's start at Colossians 2:14. Okay. So Colossians 2:14 says, blotting out the handwriting of the ordinances that was against us, which was contrary to us, and took it out of the way, nailing it to the cross. So again, people say, you see, the law is nailed to the cross. So this is the first mistake, because the ordinances, excuse me, because the ordinances ain't the law. There's a difference between the ordinances and the law, and I'm going to show you. This is Exodus 18 and verse 20. And it says, thou shalt teach them ordinances and laws, and shalt show them the way wherein they must walk, and the work that they must do. So the ordinances is how you apply the sacrifice. It's the things that you do during sacrifice. Let's read some examples, right? This is Exodus 12. We're going to read Exodus 12, 24 to 27. So Exodus 12 and 24. And ye shall observe this thing for an ordinance to thee and to thy sons forever. Verse 25. And it shall come to pass when you become to the land which the Lord will give you, according as he hath promised, that ye shall keep this service. So the ordinance is a service, but service for what? We'll see. Verse 26. And it shall come to pass when your children shall say unto you, what mean ye by this service? Verse 27. That ye shall say, it is the sacrifice of the Lord's Passover, who passed over the houses of the children of Israel in Egypt, when he smote the Egyptians and delivered our houses. And the people bowed the head and worshiped. So the service is the service of the ordinance, is what you're supposed to do at the time of sacrifice. So we'll give you another example of what the service is of the ordinance, how you do the ordinances, right? This is 2 Chronicles 35, 10 to 13. And it says, so the service was prepared, and the priests stood in their place, and the Levites in their courses, according to the king's commandment. And they killed the Passover, and the priests sprinkled the blood from their hands, and the Levites flayed them. So the sprinkling of the blood, that's an ordinance. When you kill the Passover, you take the blood and you sprinkle the blood. That's an ordinance, right? How you supposed to do certain sacrificial rituals, that's the ordinance. It's not the killing of the not the sacrifice of the animal itself, but the process of sacrificial. That's the ordinance, right? Verse 12. And they removed the burnt offerings that they might give according to the divisions of the families of the people. That's an ordinance. To offer unto the Lord, as it is written in the book of Moses. And so they did with the oxen. Verse 13. And they roasted the Passover with fire according to the ordinance, because that's how you're supposed to basically cook the Passover lamb, is being by roasted, right? But the other holy offerings saw they in pots and in caldrons and in pans, and divided them speedily among the people. So these are the ordinances, how you do the sacrifice, the rituals within the sacrifice, not the sacrifice itself. The sacrifice itself is the law, but not the ordinances. The ordinances is how you apply it and what do you do during sacrifice. Okay? So now let's go back to Colossians 2:14. And it says, blotting out the handwriting of ordinances that was against us, which was contrary to us, and took it out the way, nailing it to his cross. So the Passover, the ordinances is just how you apply the sacrifice. Now, we don't need to apply this to the anymore, because Christ was the sacrifice. Watch this now. Verse 16. Let no man therefore judge you in meat or in drink or in respect of any holy day or the new moon or the Sabbath day. So now let me explain what this is talking about. It's not saying that you can eat whatever meat you want or drink whatever, because what it means right here in let no man therefore judge you in meat or in drink is talking about the meat offering or the drink offering. I'm going to prove it. Or in respect of any high holy day, because on the holy days there was a sacrifice. Or the new moon, because on the new moon there was a sacrifice. Or the Sabbath days, because on the Sabbath there was a sacrifice. So he's saying, don't let no man tell you that you have to give a meat offering or a drink offering or a burnt offering on these days, because Christ was the sacrifice. Okay, now let me prove what I said about the meat and the drink offering. And this is not saying that you can eat whatever meat. This is talking about meat offering and drink offerings. This is Ezekiel 45 and verse 17. And it shall be the prince's part to give burnt offerings and meat offerings and drink offerings in the feast, which is the holy days, and in the new moons and in the Sabbaths, in all solemnities of the house of Israel. He shall prepare the sin offering and the meat offering and the burnt offering and the peace offering to make reconciliation for the house of Israel. So when you see in Colossians 2:16, let's go back. Colossians 2:16. Let no man therefore judge you in meat or in drink. This is the meat offering or the drink offering in the respect of any high holy day offering or the new moon offering or the Sabbath day offerings. That's what Colossians 2:16 is talking about. It's not saying that you don't have to keep these days. It's saying that there's an offering on these days that you don't have to do because Christ was that, right? So let's look at the next verse. As a matter of fact, let's look at the next verse. Colossians 2:17, which are a shadow of things to come, but the body is of Christ. You see? The sacrifice that was supposed to be given on those days, on the holy days, the new moons, and the Sabbath days, you no longer have to do those because Christ was that sacrifice. So you no longer have to give those offerings on those days. That's why Paul is saying, let no man judge you, meaning don't let no man tell you that you have to give a sacrifice on these days because Christ was the sacrifice. Now, there's another trend going on that says that you can that Colossians 2:16 means that you can celebrate the new moon whenever you want, like whenever you think it's a new moon, or you can celebrate the high holy days whenever you think it's a high holy day, or whenever you think the high holy day lands. And then they use Judges 5:11 to justify themselves. So let's read Judges 5:11. It says, they that are delivered from the noise of archers and the places of drawing water, there shall they rehearse the righteous acts of the Lord. Right there, they say, you see, you just got to rehearse the righteous acts of the Lord. It don't matter if you get it right, as long as you're practicing and you're trying. Well, that's not true, because if you're not getting it right, then you're wrong. And there's a way to follow. But look, this is Judges 21, verse 25. In those days, there was no king in Israel. Every man did that which was right in his own eyes. So when you say you can celebrate the high holy day whenever you want, or you can celebrate it and any day, and everybody just doing different things. That's not right. That's Judges 21 and 25, saying that every man is just thinking that they're right in their own eyes. What people need to understand is that before, at this time in Judges, Israel was wild. Israel wasn't even keeping the law. They were breaking the law left and right. There was no order in Israel until King David came. And I'm going to show you that. This is 2 Chronicles 35, 10 to 13. Right? And it says, so the service was prepared, and the priests stood in their place, and the Levites in their courses, according to the king's commandment. King David was the one who set that in order. And then when Solomon built the temple, they implemented that. So it wasn't until King Solomon that he did everything that then everybody was on one accord and started doing things properly. Before that, everything was wild. Let's read First Chronicles 28, 10 to 13. Right? And it says, verse 10. Take heed now, for the Lord have chosen thee to build an house for the sanctuary. Be strong and do it. Then David gave to Solomon his son the pattern of the porch, and of the houses thereof, and of the treasures thereof, and of the upper chambers thereof, and of the inner parlors of thereof, and of the place of thy mercy seat. Verse 12. And the pattern of all that he had by the Spirit, of the courts of the house of the Lord, and all of the chambers round about, of the treasuries of the house of God, and of the treasuries of the dedicated things. Verse 13. Also for the courses of the priests and the Levites, and for all the work of the service of the house of the Lord, and for all the vessels of the service in the house of the Lord. So you see, there was no order to King David and King Solomon. Before that, Israel was reckless. So were they after. But during King David and King Solomon's time, there was order, and everybody was doing it on one accord. So you can't use Judges 5:11 because that was a time when everything was out of order. You know now when is the high holy days. You know when is the Sabbath. So you can't say, you know what I'm saying, everybody could do whatever they want. Somebody got to be wrong. Not everybody could be right. Somebody got to be wrong. And the way to find that out is through the scriptures and wisdom and of understanding. So I'm going to leave y'all with this last one. This is Proverbs 4 and 7. And it says, wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding. So I hope y'all learned something real fast. This was just a quick lesson, quick cut. I hope y'all got something. I hope y'all learned. Do not use Colossians 2:16 to say that you don't have to keep those days, because that's not what that's talking about. It's talking about the sacrificial offering on those days. Verse 17 states that it was the body of Christ. So we no longer have to do those sacrifices on those days. That's what that's talking about. I'm not saying that you could keep it, that you don't have to keep it. You have to keep it just without the sacrifice. And then for those who say that you could, and for those that are saying that you could do them on any day, that's just not true either. Because now we know what days it was. With Judges 5:11 is talking about when there was no order. That's why Judges 21 and 25 show you that. Okay. So I hope y'all got something out of it. I hope y'all learned. And if not, pray on it. I'm sorry that y'all didn't get it, but pray on it. All right. So all praise to the Most High Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Kwam Yasharala.